Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today I'm super excited to have Orsi Jones with me today. She's, amongst other things, a love coach. And we're going to be talking about something which I think is quite a common thing for women to experience these days, but not really something I've spoke about a lot before. But before we get into that, let me just say a warm welcome to Orsi. Welcome, Orsi.
Hello, Ian. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I just want to let the audience know that the thing that we're going to be speaking about and touching on in this particular episode is that phase in women's life in their sort of early 30s right up until their 40s and late 40s, that time where they're very conscious of their body clock ticking away and they haven't found the love partner that they'd like to have a family with or a relationship with, maybe not necessarily involving children, but they haven't found that partner and they're thinking they might have missed their opportunity.
Yeah, that's going to be our topic for today, and I'm really excited to share everything I know about the subject, not only because that's what I'm doing on a daily basis, helping women basically find the love of their lives who are currently struggling with finding this amazing man, but also I'm going to be talking from my own experience as well, how I basically left all this behind, all the patterns that were not working for me, and eventually get to a state when I was like confident enough and knew for sure that the next man that's going to come along is going to be the man of my life. And that's exactly what happened. And that's what I'm going to talk about today.
Excellent. I think this is going to be really a great, fascinating subject for a lot of women who are listening to this podcast to learn more about. And like you just mentioned, you've got personal experience around this, and this is why you're so good at doing what you do. So can you just tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what's led you to be doing what you're doing now?
Sure. So there was three starting points in my life to become a coach, and I'm going to talk about love coaching as well, precisely. But first, so I was like around 29-ish when I first realized that I didn't know a lot of things about myself, or the things that I thought I knew about myself were not entirely true. And, I had a lot of questions. Why am I feeling this way? Why do I have this self-limiting belief? Why do I have anger? And so on and so forth. And so I wanted to really understand my own, self and find all the answers. And one of my friends at the time introduced me to coaching. Back then, coaching was something very new, very unique. So I went to study coaching. I became a life and business coach, so it all started for a selfish reason. I really just wanted to understand myself better, but I fell in love with the process. I realized that this is an amazing tool that could help people, not only live in abundance, but, understand themselves better, help with their relationships, not only with themselves, but with other people. And in any areas of their lives, they can have a huge improvement. So I started practicing coaching with others. But back then it was so new. And obviously I was very scared to leave my professional, like the other things that I was doing. I was working for corporate organizations. I had a great salary, so I didn't dare to jump. And then the next turning point was when I basically, it was when I was early 30s, and I didn't understand why, everyone's pressuring me to settle down, to find that amazing man. Why isn't he there? Why am I not, with this guy yet? And so I started, researching, relationships issues and everything in that matter. And so that was the next point when I became actually not only a life coach, like in general, but I was focusing on, that became my expertise, the love coaching part. So that's like early 30s. That's the second starting point. And the third starting point, when I actually left the corporate world behind completely and started my own business, set up my own business, Jump with Orsi, which is basically mainly focusing on helping women become unstoppable. And that was when I was 36. And it's interesting, I got diagnosed with cancer at that time.
I'm sorry
and
to hear that.
That's okay. I mean, it's one of those things, like the worst thing in your life and actually the best thing in your life as well, because it was like the biggest slap on the face that anyone, I guess, can imagine. And finding out that I thought I was completely fine, healthy. I was very body conscious, so I was in a gym all the time. I was eating healthy and all that, and so yeah, it was definitely a big slap on the face, but it was also one of those moments that I knew that would change my entire life. So after obviously the self-pity part, because we all get that, like, why me? Why does it happen to me? All that. I actually realized that I believe, let's say, that I can change, or I can turn this all around and use it for my benefit. We all heard about Joe Dispenza, who's talking about like us humans, we are completely capable of creating our own reality. So I basically, I asked myself the question, like, what was not working well in my life? Because obviously all those things, our outer world is very much in connection with our inner world as well. So it was like I had a job that paid well, and I was okay with that, with that job, but I didn't really like it that much. Relationships, I had to look around that in that area, health-wise, and all the other areas in my life. And basically, I changed everything. Left the corporate world, started my own business, even wrote a book, so I became an author. And the book is all about this area. And believe it or not, so the book is called Jump, and the subtitle is How to Achieve Absolutely Anything in Just 3 months. Because I really wanted to prove, not only to myself, but to the whole world, that if you really have faith in yourself and you know exactly what you want, then you can definitely do it. So it took me a bit longer, but eventually I became cancer free. So and
Wow.
This whole new chapter in my life started. Yeah, it was an amazing period, and definitely something that I think many people could benefit from if they read the book, or and they understand that we were not born to be victims. We were born to be heroes and heroines.
I absolutely 100% agree with that. We're not unfortunately educated away from the mindset of being victims. So a lot of the times are we, as children, as adults.
Oh yes.
So easy for us to slip into that mindset and then end up being stuck there, and have, like you mentioned, initially having a pity party around why me when you got diagnosed with the cancer and what have you. So well done,
thank you.
Turning it all around.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm sure we all have certain things in our lives that, changed our whole life for the better. For me, it happened to be the big C, which, again, the worst thing and the best thing as well at the same time. But it was interesting what you said, that we were conditioned. Since we were children, we are conditioned by our parents, teachers, media, anything. We Facebook nowadays, and all those social media things. It's just kind of crazy. And most of my clients, like the biggest question or the biggest problems, issues that they are facing is their self-limiting beliefs, that they are not good enough, right? And I'm always like, it's such and they are asking, like, why do I have this? And the explanation is super simple, which that doesn't mean that, the execution, like to get rid of that, is easy. It's not at all, because, it took you a long time, like, 20, 30, 40, 50 years to develop those self-limiting beliefs. So it's not going to be, it's not going to happen overnight to get rid of those. But the explanation is very simple. Like, how could we be good enough if we are not in alignment or in align with who we were meant to be? Like, when we are kids, we are perfect, right? Our soul is perfect. We all we carry is that we are having a good time, we are kind, we are nice, we all that. And then eventually we got conditioned. Our parents started telling us that, well, they don't even have to tell us that we are not good, or or we were bad. They can just say something like, a good girl, a good girl, a good boy, or whatever would not do this. And eventually, you remember that, and okay, so I'm not supposed to be doing that. Then I want to please them, so I'm gonna start doing other things, and I get away just a tiny bit away from who I meant to be. And then the teacher says something else, and I take that as an advice. So I get away even further away from who I meant to be. And then along the way, eventually I get, as I said, we are not in line with who we meant to be. So we are definitely not going to at any certain point, we will always feel like we're just not good enough, because we are not who we are meant to be. But we can always find ourselves back, or find our way back.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because you can see this pattern in really beautiful, educated people. It's not just people that are not educated that have the mindset of lack and fear, is it? I can remember going through those phases myself, and I'm thinking, I'm not a stupid person. How come I didn't know all this stuff?
Right. Oh yeah, I believe that these things, I actually was we just went out with my husband the other night, and I told him that these things, like self-improvement, self-development, and especially like this I'm not good enough feeling, this should be taught at schools. This should be a certain subject that we all learn about. So most of my clients actually are beautiful. Like it's almost unbelievable that they are facing this issue, that they're still struggling to find a man of their lives. Like everyone would think you should not have this problem. You should already be married, have 3 amazing kids, and all that. And yet they're still at home by themselves, thinking about, what am I not doing right? So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So when you work with your clients, Orsi, and typically from what you were saying off air, it's the women that are sort of between the ages of about 32 and up to the late 40s that are in that age bracket, as I said earlier on, of feeling that time's ticking, and if they're going to meet Mr. Right, especially if they're interested in having a family, then they need to do it now, but it isn't happening. What do you first of all start working with them around initially? Can you give us a sort of case study as to where somebody was when they first came to you, what was their situation, and what you did to help them through that, and where they're at now?
Yeah. So basically, I always think that there are 3 main issues why, especially this age group, can't seem to find the right man. And the first thing is, interestingly enough, and I was like, I was, whatever I'm going to talk about here, I did all the mistakes. All right. So I'm included in this group. The first thing is that we don't know exactly what we are looking for, right? We have some vague ideas about, what quality that man should have, but we are not precise. And believe it or not, the first thing I always do with my clients, I always ask them to get a pen and a paper and write down 77 qualities that you would want your ideal man to have. These are qualities, attributes, whatever. So as precise as you can be. Anything, like you close your eyes and then you picture this man in front of you, and then just write down everything that comes to your mind. And what I find is like, everyone is like, oh, that's going to be easy. And then they start writing it down. And after 15, 20 qualities, they say, oh my God, I don't know what else to write. And I'm like, yeah, this is where we have to get deeper. Because obviously what happens with this age group in particular, they so badly want to settle down. They want to find their ideal partner, that even though they meet someone, let's say, and they know right from the beginning that the person is not going to be worthy of their love, like they should not even waste their precious time on that particular person, but because they want to settle down, everyone is pressuring them, they are pressuring themselves, they decide to stay in that relationship. And us women, we are very good at, closing our eyes, pretending that everything is fine. And also what we are good at, good at, persuading ourselves that this is exactly what I want, or what we want. So we actually settle. We stay and we settle, and we quietly, suffer. But in the meantime, we start to accept this person and even fall in love with this person, that eventually will say, you know what, this is not what I want. So they get out, and we get that, we get left there heartbroken again. We don't understand that even a guy that I initially thought that would not be good enough for me, even that guy leaves me. Like, what is really wrong with me? So the first step is, as I said, you got to be precise. So when that guy comes along, or the next guy comes along, you know exactly, no, he's not my type of guy. He's not what I want. And so I'm not going to waste my precious time. So this is rule number one.
Can you give us some examples of being really precise? Because some women listening to this, like you say, will probably only be able to list about 10 or 20 things, and then they'd probably be struggling. So what sort of things do you think women generally don't consider when they're not being precise enough?
Oh, like those red flags that are right in front of you, but you are like, oh, maybe, I could live with this, or I could live with this, or whatever. Like, for instance, you want your ideal partner to be, like a good listener, not over, you want him to be fully present, or you want him to, like, when you are dating, you don't want him to just disappear for days. You want him to be there. You want him to give you or text you, or call you, or invite you on a date, or, show up, don't cancel. So these are the precise things that you need to write down. Otherwise, you will say, oh, well, he only did it once. Hopefully he won't do that again. These are no-nos. Right?
Yeah.
These are the red flags that I'm talking about. So when you are absolutely precise, you will not let this man, come into your life and ruin it, or even take your precious time away from others that could be completely worthy of your love.
I think
so you got to be precise.
Yeah, I think another one that women don't consider is a man's temperament. Is he volatile?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like mind blowing that, the things that we don't think about, or we don't, like, we are not aware of. And that's why it's important. Some coaches don't believe in the list. I personally do. And luckily it's proven that it works every time.
Okay. So what's the next stage then, Orsi?
Okay. So the next stage is, and I got to say that, so people who listen to me or listening to this interview today, really do your list. 3 months after I created my list, I met my husband, who was exactly like what I imagined. 5 months later, okay, only 5 months. It took us, when 5 months later, he said, you know what? I want to marry you. So we got married in Las Vegas, and the rest is history. So it really works. All right.
Wow. Thank you for adding that. That's great. I love it.
Oh yeah. It does work. The second thing is, and we already, mentioned that, but it's basically the I'm not good enough feeling. We always find something that, we are not exactly perfect at. We are comparing ourselves. Women just are great at comparing themselves with others. But what we have to understand is that we are unique as we are. Okay. So we don't have to compare ourselves to anyone. Well, the only person that we need to compare ourselves with is us. Like what we were yesterday. Did we improve? And that what matters. If I ask myself a question, am I better today than I was yesterday? And the answer is yes, then I'm okay. I'm at peace. And obviously there are certain techniques that if anyone is listening us today and says, yes, that's me, I have a lot of self-limiting beliefs. The good news is for you ladies that there are definitely, certain techniques that can help you with, like getting rid of these self-limiting beliefs and really feel confident in your own skin. So the number two, or the second thing, is not good enough, feeling that we are not good enough.
Okay, so you was talking about self-limiting beliefs, and for those of us in the personal development world, we'll know what you're absolutely referring to there. But for the benefit of the audience, can you give us some examples of what those might be, or what you've experienced as common self-limiting beliefs that a lot of your clients have had to work through?
Sure. So, like, I'm not that pretty. I'm too young. I'm too old. I have a lot of baggage. I had a lot of failed relationships, or in the money area, because I'm teaching business as well. Like, when your parent tells you you're a young kid, and let's say, your mom sent you to a store to get some milk, and you got some money. You go to the store, you get the milk, but when you check, you at a checkout aisle, you get some whatever, like candies as well, because you are a kid. Why not? And you go home, you spend all the money that your mom gave you. You go home with the milk and the candy, and your mom is asking for the change that you got back, and you have nothing to show her. So your mom says, oh my God, you just, not good with money, and, you're never going to be able to manage your money. And basically that, goes into your subconscious mind. So it's going to affect your entire life. But again, it can be, when we compare, like, obviously, that other girl is skinnier than I am. All those things are self-limiting beliefs. Why don't I know that? I should, right? The word should is like the most dangerous one. When we say we should, that means we are basically not good enough for, what everyone expects us to do, but that has nothing to do with who we should be or meant to be. I shouldn't even say should.
Yeah, I often refer to the phrase, stop shoulding all over yourself and stop shoulding on other people.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I really do. That's a great one. Yeah, it is what it is. But again, the good news is that there are techniques that will help us get rid of these self-limiting beliefs. We just need to be aware, like when was the first time when we first heard it, when we first, had this thought that we were not good enough? When was it? Who did we hear it from? Was it our mom? Was it our dad? Did it come from the media? So we need to be very precise. The next thing is that, we like to generalize and say, I am never gonna learn that, or I'm always like this. Like saying all these big words. We have to be careful with those, because our mind, basically for our mind, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. As long if we say it out loud, our mind's gonna think that it is true, and our life is going to be based on that. But we have to understand that if I say that I'm not good enough with money, or I've always been like that, that's not a case, because I'm sure that if I ask you, you will at least give me one example when it wasn't the case, when actually you were pretty good at managing your money. So we already see that there is a flaw in the system.
Yeah.
So there are certain things. Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because a lot of people don't actually realize that they've got these beliefs, these negative or self-limiting beliefs that actually are in the way of them creating what they want, until we have these conversations and they suddenly realize, oh my gosh, yes, I do think that about myself. And they don't actually realize that's contributing to them not having, in the context of relationships, the relationship they want.
Oh, big time. As I said, we could all live in abundance. It's really as a matter of what we believe in, right? I mean, if you believe that we can create our reality, and that means I can be as wealthy, I not only in my professional life or in the money area, but also everywhere else, then this is the life I'm going to live, because I believe in it and I know that I can create it.
Excellent. I love the way you put that. I think that's very clear and very easy to understand. So what would come next then? Do you have a step 3 that comes after step 2?
Yes. So step 3 is basically about, and I wouldn't just say that it's for women. It's mainly, it's for men as well. And that's basically the fear of commitment. It's like we meet this guy, and actually he seems really, really good, right? He seems like exactly what we wanted. But then, in our heads, what if he's not the right one? What if there is someone else, better waiting for me? Mm-hmm. So we just don't commit. And what happens is, this guy is not going to wait for us forever. So he's just going to move on, So it's absolutely important to understand your fear of commitment. It can be like, again, I don't want to go deeply into this, like what can cause that fear, inside us, but we have to be aware of that. Because otherwise, as I said, we will lose this amazing man to someone else's benefit who is ready to commit. But again, it's men and women, we both suffer from this.
Yeah, I think usually on the back of past hurts, heartbreaks, and trauma, isn't it? It's wanting to keep people at arm's length, that we're not even realizing we're doing it.
Oh
Again,
yeah.
this is all going on usually at a subconscious level, isn't it?
Yes. And so that's why I always tell the ladies that I'm working with, that they should really listen to their intuition, their heart, okay? Because the mind's gonna say whatever, or the mind's gonna wants to say, but their intuition, their soul, their heart will know exactly what they want and what they deserve. And it's not easy to distinguish between those two voices, because it's almost like, there is something tells you on the right side, and the other one, tells you something completely different on the left side. And it's difficult to, know which one you should listen to. But as long as you listen to the soul and the heart, which is always positive and always kind and always, talks about full, like from love, then you are at a good place. And that's exactly what the voice you need to listen to.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It is about understanding that if the voice that you're listening to is from a place of fear, lack, or anxiety, then that's probably the mind voice.
Exactly.
The
That's
ego
the
voice.
ego. Exactly.
And
Perfect.
if it's from a place of love, abundance, and like you say, positivity, then that is the intuitive voice, the heart, soul that needs to be heard. Yeah.
Yes. Precisely.
And then get the mind on board to implement what you're being told by the heart.
Oh yeah. And that's not an easy one, right? I mean, our mind can be really stubborn, and it trained to control, or the mind is not bad, because people think actually that, is my mind my biggest enemy? And it is what the mind is not good or bad. It is what, the meaning you give it. Your mind is actually there to help you, but it is totally conditioned. All right. And it wants to save you, but it wants to save you in his best, to his best knowledge. But we can get this control back, work with the mind, become really great friends with the mind. And then, you can really create, as we said, anything you want.
Yeah, I think it's important not to demonize the mind, because, it can be, like you said, perceived as being your worst enemy sometimes, if it is in that fear, lack mentality. But it can, like you said, it can also be your very best friend if you train it right. And
exactly. I do lead retreats, not only in Thailand now, but in California as well, for women. The Thailand one is for 10 days, and that's a very deep journey to actually to train your mind. And it's not an easy one. So it's only for those people, those women that are they are experienced meditators, they do some yoga on a daily basis and all that. But in California, I created a retreat that is fully, only for beginners. So anyone is welcome. And that's basically the main point of this retreat, is really to get friends with our own minds, understand how it works, and if it needs to, take the control back from your own mind.
Yeah, because, it is what you feed it, basically. If you think about it being a garden, if you don't tend to it, weeds will take over, and that's where the fear and lack comes in. But if you tend your mind and feed it well with good nutrition and good things and positivity, then you're going to have a beautiful flower garden to,
Absolutely. Yeah. There is a beautiful story. A Cherokee Indian talks to his grandson, because the grandson asks, so what the Cherokee Indian talks about the two wolves that are in our minds, and they are constantly in fight. Do you know this story, Lyn?
No, I don't know.
Okay, so these two wolves, and so the kid is basically, what are these two wolves doing? And the grandpa says that one is basically full of fear, full of anger, full of judgment, full of assumption, full of negativity, and all that. And what is the other one? As the little kid asks. And the grandpa says, well, that's full of love, abundance, anything that you can, imagine, all the good things in your life. kindness, and like anything else. And the kid is like, okay, so in this fight, which wolf is going to win? And the grandpa says, whichever you feed. Exactly, that's same. Like, if you live your life and you are you believe that you are negative, you believe that you are not worthy, you believe that you never gonna be loved by someone else, then this is going to be your reality.
Yeah, it's a great story. I mean, I'm familiar with the Henry Ford one more, where he says, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that too.
But no, I've not heard the wolf one before. That was great. That was a great example. So, Orsi, this has been a great, fascinating conversation. Really enjoyed it. So, how can our audience get in touch with you? What's your best contact information?
So the people who would like to get to know me better, they can just go to my website. The website is called Jump with Orsi. Basically, it's jump, obviously, with me. So Jump with Orsi, my name, and they can, if they want to, go to Facebook, then they will have a link there. Or if they want to see my Instagram page, they can do that too. Or they can, learn about the retreats or anything else. I do that.
Excellent. And as always, we'll make sure Orsi's contact information is provided in the show notes for those people that would like to contact her by other means. So thank you so much, Orsi. Is there any final words that you'd like to share with the audience before we finish up?
Maybe just one thing, because people tend to think that, they have unlimited time. So I think if someone is not entirely happy, and they feel that they definitely want some help, or they don't know how to get out of their situation, then they should take the time now to find some help, because there is no better time than right now. And I'm sure you are constantly given advice by some family members, and I'm mainly talking about ladies that really, struggling to settle down, but they are really desperate to do so. They want to find this amazing man. They might even want to have a baby or some, like anything else, but there is no luck in their lives. So, there might be some family members that are giving us advice that, we have plenty time. There is no rush. We should just wait. And when the time is right, he will arrive into our lives. But so what we basically do, we follow their advice and we just sit back and wait and wait and wait. And sometimes, we might get a bit impatient and we decide to get out of our comfort zone and look for him. But let's say this, other attempt fails, then what we do is we go back to our comfort zone and we continue our waiting game, saying that, he's already in a corner and it's just a matter of time before he finds me, but he never does. So it's very important for us to understand that there is no time but the present. And if we want something, we must act now. Time is really limited and it tends to be used up all too quickly. And I know, it's easier said than done, as we all, postpone taking actions for many different reasons. And some we already talked about, like, fear of rejection, fear of commitment, fear of success, not having a clear idea of what we really want, the self-limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm too old. I'm too pretty. Or, what if he learns all the things about me and he won't like what he finds out, or, whatever that is. So, but the good news is that these fears can seemingly be very real, but they only really exist in our minds. So they, unless obviously we manifest them and then we bring them to life. So almost every woman that, or every time when I start working with a client, they admit that they had been in denial for a long time. Even though all they really wanted was to be in a beautiful relationship, they kept persuading themselves that they were doing just fine by themselves. They told their friends that who actually dared to question them that they were still single by choice and that they were not ready for love. And they constantly kept themselves busy so they would not feel lonely. But sooner or later, they all realized that their usual activities that used to bring joy to their lives before, like cooking a nice home cooked meal, or an interesting conversation with a friend, or a good workout in a gym, or a nice wine tasting event, were just not enough anymore, right? I mean, these events could not numb their pain any longer. And I know that sometimes it is easier to listen to our mind instead of our heart, as we talked about that too, and persuade ourselves that we are not ready for love, or the time is not right. But when we are at home by ourselves, like lying in our bed, underneath our cold comforter, we actually know. We know that we are not entirely happy. And what we want really is a beautiful relationship with our one and only. So that's why I'm saying that, if you are in this position, act right now.
Yeah, there's just so much help out there. You don't need to go on this journey on your own. Know that there are so many other women in the same position. Both you have been in that position yourself and overcome it. And so Orsi knows from experience of this herself that you can easily, when working with somebody else, get over it and lead the successful, fulfilling life that you've always wanted, as well as have the love that you deserve.
Absolutely. And whether it's day one or one day, you decide, right? It's your decision.
Absolutely. So thank you very much, Orsi. That's been phenomenal. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you very much for sharing your own story and your pearls of wisdom.
Thank you so much, Lyn, for having me. It was a pleasure. It was really amazing and an amazing experience.
Okay, on that note then, listeners, I'll leave you with what I always leave you with, and that is true love starts with opening our hearts. So until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group Two Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.